the year 2021.
2021?
Where did we end up?
Gosh, that's so far into the future.
Yeah.
How are you all doing? They don't talk in the future.
I don't know. And they were talking a little bit. Are you guys good?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Ask him who he is. Say, who are you?
Who are you?
I am Daniel.
sorry.
I think you were hearing about me downstairs. Miss Barb was reading a story about Daniel. Do you remember that story?
Yeah.
Who did she say that I am? Emma,
Prophet.
a prophet. And do you remember what a prophet does? Anybody? Go ahead.
It says messages from God.
Yes, tells messages from God. Very good. Now, was Daniel a good person, or he was a good person, and he had a friend? Okay. So anyhow, you heard the story downstairs, and how I came into the court, the king's court, with my three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay, and how we were being tested and everything, but because we didn't want to ruin ourselves by eating all the wrong foods, we just ate the vegetables and drank water, and we were healthier than anybody else. Well, one day, the king built a statue, King Nebuchadnezzar, and this is King Nebuchadnezzar, and what did the king say?
I said that everyone must bow down and worship my golden statue.
Guess what? Who do you think did not bow down to worship the statue?
Daniel.
Daniel, and who else? Do you think his three friends bowed down to worship that?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so now what do you think happened? Well, what had happened, he decided, well, if they're going to disobey me, they have to pay the punishment.
We need to throw them into the furnace. Fire.
Very hot furnace, and so he got his men to help him.
Move over,
You have to
move
make-
over, Max.
you have to make way for
All
the
right, we don't want to
guys.
get thrown in there.
Okay, let's go see where the furnace is.
All right, you guys want to go down and see the furnace? All right, you're not going to get thrown in there. We'll make sure. All right, let's go. Come on, let's go.
We're the time travel.
We're the time travelers.
You're just gonna see what happened back in the time of Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
All right.
You're still protected by the time.
They did that with the golden statue. Were they right not to bow down to the golden statue? Did they make the right choice? Yeah, they did, right? We only bow down to God, right? All right. Okay, we're gonna come up here.
You hear that? They refused to listen to the king and worship his golden statue, and thrown in the furnace. They began to sing and pray to God, and they kept putting more. The king kept saying,
Make it hot.
throwing more wood and more coal in there. And some of the men who were throwing the coal in there got so close that they burned up. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were just walking around and kept on singing, and the fire seemed to just be kind of going around them and not touching them. And then all of a sudden the king looked in the furnace and said, he's saying he thought they only threw three people in, but he seems to see a fourth person in there now. Who is that fourth person? It was an angel of God that could, there's that fourth person. And what do you think that angel's going to do? Do you remember the story from downstairs? The king says,
Stop the fire.
Hey, come on out of there.
and look at that. Don't even smell like smoke. Their clothes are still there, not burned or singed.
We knew we had to be courageous and praise God even when we were in the fire.
Well, it seems to me that your God saved you.
Our God saved us, the one true God.
I think that anyone from now on who doesn't worship their God, who must be the one true God, will have to be burned in fire, because their God has saved them.
Excellent. You see, what we're hearing is a story about God's love for each and every one of us, and how he asks us to trust in him and to believe that he will always protect us. So they got saved, and they got high positions in the kingdom because of that. Now, many years later, the king was throwing a banquet for all of his friends, all of his family, and while they were eating and dining, the king's looking around and having a jolly good time and laughing and talking with them.
I feel a little weak.
Are you feeling weak, King?
Yeah.
What seems to be the problem?
My knees are shaking.
You look a little pale in the face, too.
I don't quite feel right. Okay.
And then all of a sudden, the king looked up on a wall, and he saw a hand coming out of the wall.
Oh my goodness.
And what do you think that hand wrote? 3 words. Look at that. There's those 3 words that the king saw. Many, Tekel, and Perez.
I don't understand what those are. Where are my wise men? You know what those mean? No. Not even my mouth. You know what? We need to get Daniel here. I think he'll be able to help us. Yes, we do.
So Daniel goes over and talks with the king, and the king talks with him, and then the king says,
I need you to interpret these for me, because my wise men have no idea.
is that right?
Yeah.
They never saw those words before.
Nope.
Well, let me study those for a minute. Many, M-E-N-E, basically what that means is God has been watching you, and he has come to realize that you and your kingdom are not doing what it should be doing, and your kingdom is probably going to fail. You're going to lose it.
No wonder I feel weak.
No wonder you feel weak, right? Yeah.
How about the second one?
Okay, Tekel, definitely that means you yourself as the leader have not been faithful to God. That same God that saved Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you haven't been faithful to him. So your days are numbered.
How about the third one?
Perez. Perez means that in a not too distant future, your kingdom will not be around any longer, and it will be taken over by 2 other kings and their countries.
Where's that?
You better sit down and relax on that one. Exactly. And you know, so the story came to be true, that the king lost his kingdom, and it ended up in the hands of other kings. Now, we have to fast forward a little bit, and many years later, there was another king after Nebuchadnezzar, and then there was another king after that king, and that king's name was Darius. And Darius knew that Daniel was very special to Nebuchadnezzar and the other king. And so he tried to treat him real good, and he kind of promoted him and gave him more power. Well, guess what? The other men who were closest to the king didn't like that. They thought they should have been the ones getting promoted. And they got jealous. And so they went up to the king and said, we want to destroy him somehow. How did they do that?
You don't have a plan. They told me that I should make a law that everyone has to worship the golden statue.
And so I was taken in there to worship that golden statue.
Come on,
So
I'll
I
show
will
you.
follow you.
Do you guys think Daniel's gonna worship the golden statue?
Once again, we're talking if I'm going to trust my God.
Who thinks he's gonna worship him? Who thinks he's gonna worship God instead? Yeah, who thinks he's gonna worship the big statue? Alright, let's go see. Sophia. Stop, watch out.
God.
All right, everyone, good, okay. You guys can see from here, I think you're good. Everyone can see? If you can't see, come on up. Joey, you might come up, you little,
You
Nia.
can come a little closer. if they
Go ahead,
want.
Tina. Yep. You guys get a little bit closer if you can see. You're so tall. Everyone can see? Max, can you see?
All right, Daniel, so this is my golden statue, and my new law says that everyone must bow down and worship.
I cannot do it. I only have one God. The God who saved my friends from that fiery furnace many years ago is the same God that I pray to, and I will not worship any other God.
I remember that story from a king in the past, and they had the fiery furnace, but we are gonna have, I don't wanna do this, but the law says that you have to go to the lion's den.
If the law says it, so be it.
All right,
I trust that my God will protect me.
we'll find out. I hope you're right. Come on, we're gonna go, let's go. Come on.
All right, kids, we're gonna stay here for a second. We're gonna talk about what we just saw. We just traveled thousands of years back in time. We're seeing Daniel being taken into the lion's den. We already saw 3 of our friends in the fiery furnace. What are you guys thinking?
That God won't let any of his closest friends die.
Do you think Daniel's gonna survive the lion's den? How many of you think we should go downstairs and try to find the lion's den? Think so? All right. Everyone good? Everyone feeling pretty good? All right. So, what would you have done? Would you have bowed down to that golden statue? No, right? Okay. Good, I'd like to hear that. All right. Let's slowly make our way this way. We're gonna go down the list stairs. Yeah, we're gonna go down the list stairs this time because I think I have a feeling the lion's den's this way. Everyone good? Man, who wants to time travel again? Is that pretty fun? We like time traveling? Hopefully we can make it back to 2021 before your parents get back. Right? I don't know if they can find their way all the way to Daniel's time. It might be a little bit difficult. Oh, okay, that's his house. Well, Stephanie's here, so you're good. You'll make it out. She knows how to do it that time. I don't know if I can do it.
Thank you. Is it in?
Well, that's it. He's being thrown in.
Alright, so we have to throw Daniel in because he was part of the whole statue. It is the next day. We're gonna check on him. Daniel, you still in there?
Hello?
You still alive?
King Darius.
Come on out.
The lions went to sleep.
Yeah.
Once again, our God saves us. Once again, our God saves us because I put my trust in Him, just as my 3 friends did many years ago.
Well, that's the second time in our kingdom that we've seen this happen. And I know that King Nebuchadnezzar made a mistake and ended up losing his kingdom, but I'm not gonna make that mistake. I'm gonna be getting regardless.
I think you're a wise man to make that decision.
Come on.
Okay.
Well, Daniel,
Beautiful hat.
bye.
We're gonna talk a little bit if we have a chance.